This video is the first installment in the series, How to Use and Interpret Pontius Matrix version 41, created by graduate students at Clark University. This video describes how to enter data, how to edit the figures, and how to avoid some common oversights when using version 41 of the Excel file. The Pontius Matrix is an Excel program developed by Professor Pontius. For more information on the method, please follow the link in the description to watch the Pontius and Santa Cruz video, Quantity Exchange and Shift Differences in a Square Contingency Table. The first sheet of the matrix is a documentation sheet which describes the program, gives instructions for its use, and provides references that describe the methods. The second sheet is called Sample Count, which contains 3 types of cells. The gray cells are the only ones into which the user enters information. The numbers in the white cells are a function of the gray and yellow cells. The white and yellow cells are locked. Cells D3 through S18 contain the entries in the main contingency table. The categories in the rows correspond to the categories in the columns. Each entry in the table is the number of observations for each particular category. For raster maps, the number of observations is pixel counts. The choice in cell A1 determines how the program processes the data. Select the sample option in cell A1 when you have data from a random sample of a larger population. The population is the collection of all possible observations, for example, all pixels in a raster map. When conducting an error assessment, scientists frequently have a stratified random sample of the reference information, so they would use the sample option. If you select sample in cell A1, then you must enter the numbers in column A, which give the counts for each category in the population. The Excel file then converts the same table on the sample count sheet into an estimated population table on the population count sheet, assuming a random sample that is stratified by the categories in the rows. Column A of the sample count sheet matches column A of the population count sheet, but the entries in each row of the population count sheet are a multiple of the entries in each row of the sample count sheet. This conversion from a sample table to an estimated population table is an essential step when you are working with a sample of a population that is frequently missed by practitioners. All subsequent calculations derive from the population count table. Select the census option when you have data that encompasses the entire population. For example, users frequently have complete coverage of all pixels in maps at 2 time points when they are conducting a change assessment. For the census option, the Excel file ignores the numbers in column A of the sample count sheet because the size of each category in the population is already contained in the entries of the table. If you select census in cell A1, then the entries in the table on the sample count sheet are identical to the entries in the table on the population count sheet. Column A of the population count sheet contains the sum for each row. In cell B1 of the sample count sheet, the user has the option to enter a name for the dataset in order to document the work. In C2, the user chooses between conducting a change assessment or an error assessment. This choice determines the labels in the resulting tables and figures. If the user selects change, then the differences are labeled as losses and gains in the figures. If the user selects error, then the differences are called commission and omission in the figures. For change assessment, enter the initial time in cell B3. And the final time in cell D1. Enter the category names in column C, which are linked directly to the names in row 2. We recommend that users save their data in the gray cells by using Excel's Scenario Manager, which can be accessed by clicking on Data in the navigation panel and selecting What If Analysis. In the Scenario Manager, the user can access previous applications and add new applications. which the Excel program saves. In this way, you can easily switch between multiple datasets. Here we show a saved application that has 5 categories. The calculations proceed through the sheets from sample count to population count to proportion to transpose, then to exchange. Then the figures data sheet summarizes all the results and contains data that the Pontius Matrix draws on to create different figures. For example, the category intensity sheet shows one of the types of figures this program produces. The lengths of the stacked bars adjust automatically to the results on the figures data sheet. However, the number of bars does not adjust automatically to the number of categories. Users must edit the figure to show the correct number of categories. Within the main area of the figure, right-click and go to Select Data. Then select Edit in the Legend Entries box for the loss intensity. This will direct you to the figures data sheet. Click on the series values and select the appropriate rows in column J. Next, repeat this process for the gain intensity, selecting the appropriate rows in column I. The figure now shows all of the categories. Repeat this process for all of the figures. On the category intensity figure, you must also adjust the uniform line manually. The user must look up the uniform line value on the figures data sheet in cell I-18, and then adjust the line by hand based on that value by dragging it along the figure. This concludes our introduction to using the Pontius Matrix version 41. To learn more about the Pontius Matrix or to download the Excel program, please visit the link in the description. There you will find further videos and publications as well. Thank you for watching. We encourage you to continue with our video series and watch video 2, Exploring Transition Level Intensity Analysis.